Good morning and welcome to Long Building Technologies coffee break. I'm Rick Hobbs. I'm with the Security Solutions Group in the Renton office of Long Building Technologies, and today we're going to talk about batteries in your security equipment. Every building with an access control system is going to have backup batteries they need to replace periodically. They need to replace when they get old, when they go bad, or are so depleted that they can no longer be charged back up. You should know where your access control panels are located. Often the manufacturer's name is not on the panel as a security precaution. Most door lock power supplies have a name of Altronics, Securitron, or Life Safety on them, and you can find those are a little easier to find. They all have batteries in them. Nearly all of these batteries are 12 volt DC 7 amp hour batteries. You'll find larger ones in panels that have extended backups and smaller ones in cabinets that do not have room for full-size batteries. S2 is one that uses a smaller battery in their controllers. You will find batteries in the control panel of the access control system and the power supply of the access control system. If you don't have a service contract where someone is coming in periodically and looking in those cabinets, you should be opening them up and looking for problems. These cabinets are often locked. It's not uncommon to find the keys on the top of the cabinet or in the lock itself. Key control for security panels will be a topic of a coffee break at another time. Today we've got Scott Sabota with us. Scott is a 20-year veteran of security installations here at Long. He's serviced and installed thousands of batteries. Scott has often been the tech responding when low battery signals goes off in software, and has been the responder when end users have not done the job they should, replacing batteries, and he needs to fix it. We're going to ask Scott some questions about battery replacement, and then open up to questions for the group. So Scott, what's the biggest mistake you see end users make in dealing with their batteries and replacing them?
Hello, everybody. Scott with Long here. So the biggest thing I see is a lot of people don't realize that you should disconnect the voltage, the operating voltage to your access control panel so that when you plug the batteries in, it'll engage the charging circuit. So basically, as you disconnect either the AC or DC power, whichever your system is operating on, independent of the batteries, and then plug the batteries in, and then plug in your main power supply. What this does is, again, it activates the charging circuit so that the system recognizes it has a battery on there and will continue to provide voltage to keep the battery charged. And most likely it's going to, in all cases, it's going to be the positive symbol, which is a plus sign to the red terminals, and then the negative symbol with the black terminals, or the black wire for that. So that's your positive and negative connections.
How long should a battery last before it should be replaced proactively?
In most cases, a battery under normal conditions will last 2 to 5 years. That being said, the 5 years would be achievable if you never have to utilize the battery. So if your system never powers down and never has to engage the backup batteries, obviously your batteries are going to last a little bit longer. If you have an issue with your building where the power goes off a lot of times and you're having to engage those batteries as a backup charging circuit or voltage circuit, it's not going to last as long. Heat and other environmental conditions will also affect the life of your battery.
Yeah, the heat in the room can make them not last nearly as long. What are the signs of a bad battery that you can see?
The first thing you'll notice is at the terminal connections, the little terminal tabs, you'll see a buildup of a residue. It's the acid leaching from the battery and building up on there. The other thing you'll see is the battery will physically swell. What happens is the gases inside it start to expand because it's either gotten too hot or it's been depleted too much, or for a variety of reasons. Once you see that, that is a sure sign that your battery is starting to become bad and need to take action.
Okay. Proper way to replace a battery. Once you've got it in front of you, you've got a replacement battery in your hand. How do you do that?
Again, provided that you've disconnected the main power to the system, you're just going to take your red and black terminals. Now on like an access control system that utilizes a single battery for just a single 12-volt source, you're just going to connect that battery directly to those two terminals. Typically, your power supplies are supplying 24 volts DC as a backup source to your locks and other devices on your access control system. For those electronic power supplies, you're going to have two 12-volt batteries back to back in a series connection, meaning that on the two batteries, the positive and negative legs of one battery are connected, and then from the positive and negative of the electronics power supply are going to connect to the other one. What this does is it creates a series circuit which supplies, in this case, a 24-volt backup battery for your system.
Got it. What does it mean when you get a low battery alert in your access control system software?
If you see that, it's usually indication because your system is supervised internally and diagnostically to let you know what the levels are. In most cases, when you see that, it's either, you might even see an AC loss on your monitoring screen of your access control system. If you see that and then it's followed by a low battery, you immediately know what that is. That means you lost power. The system had to rely on the backup batteries. Once the power comes back on, if the battery hasn't been depleted too far, it should start coming back up to its normal levels, and that low battery message should go away.
Sounds good. So basically, it may be that it just lost AC power, and it may be a problem with the batteries in the power supply.
Mm-hmm. If you don't have any record, any knowledge that the AC power has been lost, and it could be just a bad battery, it's just getting old. The other thing, in 99% of the situations, we will put dates on the batteries from the date of installation. That's the date you want to look for, is that handwritten or labeled date on the battery, 2 to 5 years from that date. And you should be checking these regularly. You want to replace them before they start to swell and start to create that corrosion that I mentioned, because that can cause a problem with your system. It can back up and cause voltage issues with your access control or power supply.
And batteries are cheap compared to having technicians come out and replace them.
Yep, or having it damage your system.
So that'll actually happen, where it'll damage the system. Disposal. What's the proper way to dispose of those batteries once you've taken them out?
In most cases, you should be wearing eyewear and rubber gloves, because again, if any of that corrosion is leaking, especially if you see that battery swollen, by all means, make sure you have eye protection on, maybe even a face shield, because if that thing blows, it's not going to kill you, but it's not going to make a good day for you. So be very careful and be very aware and use proper safety practices.
Being said, do we have any questions in the chat? If we don't, I will take this as our complete coffee break for today. Thank you all. Please come back next week for the next one with our building intelligence group.
And if you do have any questions, you feel free to reach out to me via email or however you want to if you do have some specific concerns.